Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ashton Moore with Week 3 of the UPL against Lucky and the Minnesota Lycanrocs. So let's get right into the build analysis portion of this video. Looking at his team in the top right, he has a very solid defensive core. He's got Tapu Fini, which is exceptionally good against my team, either offensively or defensively. He's got Nidoqueen, which is a premier hazard setter, also a huge pain, also can be run offensively. Zapdos, big problem. Empoleon, big problem. So this is going to be a tough nut to crack right off the bat. He's also got a very effective Mega Gallade. When I was looking through this team, trying to figure out what my strategy was going to be, I was looking at its move pool. Had I realized it had these moves, I may have first picked it for this draft, considering what I was going for with my team. Very strong move set. He's also got other odd threats like Reuniclus. He's got Lycanroc Day, Noivern, even Shaman can do some things against my team. Even Leopard can, with things like Prankster, Thunder Wave. So something to be concerned with, right? Overall, I think his team is very good. So what's our strategy going to be? How are we going to crack this? My thought is kind of the same vein as last week when we swept with the Scarf Ments. This time we're going to sweep with Autotomized Celesteela. I feel like this is a pretty good strategy against this team. If we run Rockium Z, full speed and attack investment, Stone Edge, Heavy Slam, Earthquake, we can cover every single thing on his team. The only thing we cannot OHKO with this is the Zapdos if it is max defense. I expect for him to know that, and I expect for him to run the Zapdos max defense. But even if he does, if we put in Celesteela against a weakened wall, we hit Autotomize, we hit the Rockium Z, we will not die to a defensive Zapdos, meaning we can combine a Rockium Z with a Stone Edge, kill it that way, get our Beast Boost moving, and just start rolling through Mons. Because once we get an attack boost, literally nothing on his team can stop us as long as the Tapu Fini is weakened in some way. One other thing to think about here is that with the Autotomized boost, I will be faster than anything he can possibly bring outside of Scarfers. And really, I'm looking at Noivern, Scarf Noivern. That would be the main thing. Technically, Scarf Lycanroc could do it as well, but Scarf Lycanroc isn't going to be able to kill Celesteela in any meaningful way, even with its own Z Crystal, because then it wouldn't be able to run Scarf. So I'm not too concerned with that. Obviously, Leopard would have to be off the table for me to sweep. I don't really expect him to bring it, but he could. Definitely possible. We can run Adamant with this particular setup rather than the Jolly setup, because since we can't outrun Noivern anyway, with just Adamant, we can actually outrun anything else and just regular Noivern. So there's no reason to run any extra speed than what we're running right now. So obviously, when you're using a strategy like this, it's good to have a backup. And so our main backup sweeper this time around is going to be Mega Diancie. So we're going to run the standard coverage moves, and we're also going to run Calm Mind. We can Calm Mind against a lot of different things, like the Tapu Fini, like the Zapdos, especially the Zapdos. The only thing kind of to worry about with Zapdos is that a lot of defensive variants run Discharge for the 30% para rate. But if I have to choose between that and a 70% chance of just ending the game, I think that's a good trade for me. So we're setting up a sweep. We're trying to wear down walls. We're trying to break the walls. So we've got two Mons that are going to be dedicated to literally just breaking walls. That's all they're going to be for. So two choice banders. The first one being Goodra. We'll be running Power Whip, Outrage, Earthquake, Thunder Punch. That literally covers every single thing on his team super effectively, minus the Mega Gallade. And I realized that that's the case. So this time I'm going to be running Gooey, and I'm going to be running just enough defensive investment to survive a close combat from the Mega Gallade at least 1% HP. So that's going to happen. That will also slow him down. I'll get my hit, and then I'll be able to clean him up with something that's faster than he is later on. Really, the Power Whip is mostly there for that Tapu Fini. The Earthquake is there for the other two main setup mons that he has. Well, hazard setup mons that he has, being Empoleon and Nidoqueen. And that's really what we're going for there. The other choice bander we're going to be running is Licky Licky. So I was kind of thinking about how do I use Licky Licky in new and interesting ways. And when I was thinking, hey, how do I Oko the Zapdos? How do I Oko the Tapu Fini? I had no real answers to that, minus, boosting things. Until I calculated Choice Band Explosion off of this Mon and realized that it kills them regardless of their investment. In fact, it kills anything on his team, minus Empoleon, and it deals 80% minimum to Empoleon. So I figure that's a pretty good deal. Also, I can run, Return, Knockoff, Earthquake. Those will hit things as well if I don't feel like exploding. But probably what will happen is I will throw him out, blow up, something will be dead, and it'll make my sweep easier. As far as the last couple Mons, my main idea for a lead is Swampert. This one's going to be more offensive invested with a Life Orb. Reason being, 60 speed ties with Empoleon. Empoleon actually has very high special attack, and there is a chance that he might run some sort of an offensive build to kind of fake me out with something like Hidden Power Grass. That would not necessarily be very good for me. That would kill me. So if I run this kind of a build, if he's running that, unless he's Shuckaberry, which hopefully he's not, Earthquake is going to just flat out kill that thing. Also, this will allow me to outspeed the Nidoqueen, especially if it's a defensive investment, and I'll be able to kill that with Earthquake as well. Waterfall, Ice Punch are kind of there for coverage moves and just general coverage. Also, this allows me to kind of check that Noivern. Stealth Rock is there, so we can wear down that Zapdos by 25% and make our Z move 100% kill. So that will be kind of a priority to get set up. When I did the calculations for this battle, I also calculated that Earthquake with the Life Orb would do a minimum of 50% to Tapu Fini. And as you'll see in the battle video, that is actually not the case. So I actually miscalculated that. I was only calculating HP investment and not defense investment. So that was a mistake on my part in the team building. In the last slot, I'm going to be running Greninja. Spikes is kind of there also to kind of wear things down. Toxic Spikes would have been a thought, but Nidoqueen being a likely bring, I decided not to. Gunk Shot's going to help us finish off that Fini, or potentially even like the Shaman. Hydro Pump general coverage. Dark Pulse will hit the Gallade very hard, and it will also kill the Reuniclus kind of straight up. So this is kind of my main answer to that Reuniclus. Overall, I feel pretty good about this team. Feel pretty good about my chances. I just need to weaken the Fini, potentially weaken the Zapdos, and then just get the Celesteal out there, autotomize, and just end the game. So that's kind of the goal. And let's just get into the battle video and see how that worked out. Welcome to the battle portion of the video. So here we have both the team lineups. I'm looking at his team. Mostly what I kind of expected. Except I didn't expect to see Noivern and Lycanroc. I expected to see one or the other. And I also expected to only see one of Empoleon or Tapu Fini, not both. So I'm kind of mixed on this, but overall, this seems pretty decent. I'm thinking he'll probably lead with either Fini or Empoleon, so I'm going to lead with my Swampert. And he actually decides to lead with Noivern, and I can kind of understand this because naturally he would probably U-turn out against most of my stuff since he naturally outspeeds everything that I have. And that is exactly what he'll do. I'm going to hit Ice Punch to kill him if he decides to stay in and hit a Draco Meteor. So we'll hit the Fini. At this point, I kind of realize, hey, that Fini is pretty tanky. But I go ahead and set up the Stealth Rock. I felt that was better than just clicking like Earthquake or switching out entirely because I didn't know if this was going to be a more offensive variant of Fini. I guess I could have calculated that Ice Punch, but I didn't feel like I needed to. That would have given me a lot of information, and if that was the case, I probably would have actually switched into Goodra here, but I didn't. So I went ahead, I used Stealth Rock. I know he's going to probably defog it, but I go ahead and I go for that Earthquake anyway. And it does not do 50%. So this is where that calculation earlier came to kind of bite me. I do live the Moonblast follow-up, and I do hit Earthquake, and I do die from the Life Orb recoil. But I'm kind of fine with that at this point. So it's only turn 4, but the Finny's at 25%. And the way that I win this game is to weaken that Finny and then kill that Zapdos. So my thought is this is actually the perfect opportunity to just go ahead and go into that Steela. I can autotomize if he wants to stay in. I know that his attack is going to do basically nothing. I'll be able to clean that Mon up, and I'll be able to sweep his entire team. End the game right now. If he switches into Zapdos, I'll still get my autotomize, and I'll still have a 2-turn KO, and it cannot kill me with any attack, because I am expecting it to be max defense. So, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to throw that Steela out, I'm going to hit that autotomize, the Zapdos comes in just as predicted, I go for the Rocky MZ move, hit that thing, it does show that it is max defense. We get hit with a discharge, which is fine, and then we get paralyzed. So that 30% chance has stopped any potential of a Celesteela sweep, which is not good. Obviously, that's very bad. Had this paralyzed not happened, we would have cleaned him up with Stone Edge, and then just started just rolling through his team. Literally nothing else that he had. Sans Shucka Berry Empoleon would have been able to survive a hit from this Celesteela at all. Unfortunately, we're not going to find that out. But, so what do? I go ahead and I go for the Stone Edge anyway, expecting that maybe he'll go to finish me off. But he ends up roosting. Stone Edge does literally nothing to this thing. And at this point, we have to switch. So I go ahead and go into that Licky Licky, expecting that he's going to roost up to full, which he does. At this point, I'm kind of thinking, what do I do here? So I could have hit Earthquake to cover the Empoleon switch. I thought maybe he'd just stay out since he was defensive and he'd just go for more paras. So I just hit Explosion. He's going to Volt Switch out. Reasonable play. He gets a crit. I also get a crit. So goodbye, Empoleon. That crit didn't matter too terribly much. I could have cleaned up that Empoleon with anything. It would have survived with a maximum of like 20% HP. So I wasn't too concerned about that. He sends out Noivern. My thought was to just send out Celesteela here into whatever he's got, because Celesteela at this point was kind of worthless. He does U-turn out, goes into the Zapdos, hit him with the Heavy Slam, doesn't do a whole lot of damage. And then we're going to get cleaned up with Discharge. I'm going to go out into Diancie here. So my thought is, right, I can go for a Calm Mind. So I go for a Calm Mind, and then I clean this guy up. Or I force him out. He knows that I have rock moves, or I'm probably going to have a rock move, and it's going to do a ton of damage to the Zapdos. So that's my expectation, right? The only thing that outspeeds me on his team is the Lycanroc, and potentially like the Mega Gallade can speed time me. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. However, that is not what happens. I actually forget to click the Mega button, but it does not matter because I get hit with the discharge anyway, and I get paralyzed again, and I get prevented from being able to move. So even had I Mega'd, since I was going for the Calm Mind, I would not have hit him with anything anyway, and I still would have been paralyzed, and I would have been at around the exact same HP. So at this point, I'm kind of too tilted to even bother clicking the Mega button. I just clicked Diamond Storm. Had I Mega'd, that probably would have actually killed him. So that it makes some difference, but not really that much difference. So I end up going into the Greninja. He switches out into the Finny. I'm going to Hydro Pump the Finny. That will kill the Finny. But at this point, I'm kind of screwed, if you will. My thought here is hit the Dark Pulse, potentially get some of my RNG back through a flinch and or a crit. So I hit that. It is not going to flinch him. He is going to close combat. However, I do know that I will clean the Gallade up. Close combat cannot kill the Goodra. So we will clean him up with Outrage, and then we will lose the Goodra and the game here at the end. To Splinter Storm Shards. Style points. Respect. And that's really the game. So let's talk about this. Sometimes this happens, right? Pokemon is a game that has RNG elements, you know, status effects on moves. It happens, 30% chance on the discharge, but it hit twice, and then we also got the para once. And it happened to be both of the sweepers that I needed to win the game. It happens. Crits happen, status happens. It's still hard to deal with. No matter how much experience you have, no matter how, objective you make yourself, those moments are frustrating. When you have a 70% chance to win the game, and then it comes down to that, 30% chance para, and it hits, it feels bad. It feels really bad. I guess the idea is, how do you keep playing through a game when you're like completely on tilt? Because I was like, even after that first pair, I was on tilt, but the second one, I was just like, I am done. I don't want to play this game anymore. I just want out. You still need to try to take something away if you can. So in this instance, while I did get screwed up by RNG quite a bit, I could have held back on the Celesteela. I could have waited. I didn't need to send it out right then. I could have, tried to trick the Zapdos out with something else. I could have sent my Licky Licky out and exploded it. I could have, switched into that Goodra. I could have saved my Swampert. I could have done a lot of different things that would have increased my odds of winning beyond that para chance. And so those are things to think about. Even if you get crit, even if you get, parrot status or something like that. Obviously, I don't like it, especially because the Celesteela got burned immediately in my game one. It's just a status magnet. That's what it is. It's a steel type, I guess. Uh, I was really happy to use this Pokemon finally, and obviously it's not working out too well for me. It's still a good Mon, and I still it can do what it needs to do. I just need to set up the opportunities for it to do it better. So I don't think this was necessarily on the team building or the team. I think this is more towards a battle execution, and obviously there's some RNG elements. Props though to Lucky. I know you did your calcs and stuff because you brought the stuff that you needed to bring in order to live through this. So good game. Look forward to the rematch. I will get you next time. So stay tuned for week 4. Thanks for watching, guys. Again, if you like the video, if you have suggestions for me, leave them in the comments below. Have a good one.